You know, in the NFL, there are some records that just feel untouchable, like they're etched in stone for decades. But every so often, a player comes along who doesn't just knock on history's door, they kick it clean off the hinges. Today we're talking about one of those moments, a season of pure dominance that ended with a new king being crowned at the top of the NFL mountain. 23. Just look at that number. For over 2 decades, football fans, players, everybody knew the magic number for a pass rusher was 22.5. That was the summit. Well, that era, it's over. 23 is the new benchmark. It's the new peak for single-season defensive dominance in the National Football League.
So the big question is, how? How did one player completely redefine what we all thought was possible? Well, that's what we're here for. We're going to break down exactly how Myles Garrett of the Cleveland Browns got to that incredible number, what it took to get there, and what this means for the game going forward.
Okay, so let's paint the picture. It's Week 18 of the 2025 season, Browns versus Bengals. The clock's winding down in the fourth quarter, and then it happens. Myles Garrett just explodes off the line, throws his blocker aside with this just violent swim move, and hunts down Joe Burrow for a 6-yard loss. This wasn't just another play. This was history, being written right in front of the entire world. Now, to really, truly appreciate what Garrett did, you have to understand the giants whose shoulders he's now standing on. To become the king, he had to pass some of the most feared defensive players the game has ever seen.
I mean, look at this. The difference we're talking about here is razor thin. For more than 20 years, that record was locked in at 22.5 sacks. Garrett's 23 pushed that ceiling just half a sack higher. But you know what? That tiny little half-sack difference was enough to put him all alone in the history books. It's the difference between being legendary and becoming immortal.
And the names he passed? We're talking about absolute legends here. First up, the New York Giants icon Michael Strahan, who set that original, what we thought was an unbreakable record, way back in 2001. Then you've got T.J. Watt of the Steelers, who managed to match that incredible number in 2021. For years, those two guys were it. They were the definition of sack supremacy, until Myles Garrett and his 2025 season completely rewrote the whole story.
So let's get into the nitty-gritty. How in the world did he pull this off? What were the ingredients for this masterpiece of a season? Because let me tell you, a performance like this, it's built on a whole lot more than just raw talent. Yeah, this was no fluke. This wasn't a record built on 1 or 2 lucky games against a bad offensive line. This was the result of just relentless pressure, week in and week out. Garrett had multiple games with more than 1 sack. He was a constant nightmare for offenses, a total game plan wrecker. He proved that on any given Sunday, he was the single most dominant defensive player on that field.
Get a load of this number, 0.23 seconds. That is just insane. According to the league's own tracking data, that was Garrett's get-off time on the record-breaking sack. That's how long it took him to react to the snap and just explode. To give you some perspective, the average person blinks their eyes in about 0.3 seconds. He's moving before most of us can even process what's happening. That's the kind of world-class athleticism we're talking about here.
And that incredible speed, it all points to one thing that the analysts just keep talking about, his insane efficiency. See, it wasn't that Garrett played more snaps than other top defenders. He wasn't just out there grinding away. No, he made every single snap count. He was surgically precise, creating a ridiculous number of pressures and sacks for the amount of time he was actually on the field. This was all about quality over quantity.
Okay, but here's where the story gets another fascinating layer, maybe even a little wild. Because Garrett's incredible individual performance, it didn't happen in a vacuum. To really get the full weight of it, you have to look at what was going on with his team that season. This right here is what puts it all into perspective. On one side, you have Myles Garrett, breaking one of the most famous records in all of football. And on the other side, you have the Cleveland Browns, finishing the season with a rough 5-12 record, not even sniffing the playoffs. It's that stark contrast that makes his achievement even more incredible. Seriously, think about that for a second. For a lot of players, when the team's goals are out of reach, when the season's basically over, it can be really tough to keep playing at that elite level, but not Garrett. His relentless pursuit of greatness never slowed down for a second. He kept putting up game-changing numbers every single week, even in what people called meaningless games. That just shows a personal drive that had nothing to do with his team's record. All right, so let's zoom out. What's the long-term impact of a season like this? Let's take a look at how this one performance redefines not just Myles Garrett's legacy, but the standard for the entire league. You really have to see this on a timeline to appreciate the history here. The NFL only started officially counting sacks in 1982. For over 20 years, Strahan's record looked like it was from another planet, untouchable. Then Watt came along and tied it in 2021. But it was Garrett who finally smashed through that barrier, setting a brand new standard for a whole new era of football.
And the ripple effects from this, oh, they're massive. A season like this basically locks up the Defensive Player of the Year award. It shoots him right to the front of the line in any conversation about the Hall of Fame. But maybe more importantly, in today's NFL, a league all about quick passes and mobile QBs designed to stop guys like him, he completely reset what we thought was even possible for a defender to do.
So when you put it all together, the new record, the legends he had to pass to get it, and the absolutely incredible fact that he did it all on a struggling team, it all boils down to one massive question for all of us. Is this the single greatest defensive season in the history of the modern NFL? That is the new debate Myles Garrett has forced us all to have.